Welcome, beautiful Paris Saint Germain family. Once again, we have some great news to discuss. I mean, if it actually happens, but that is the possible potential departure of Randal Kolo Muani from Paris Saint Germain. From what we have seen last season and this season, Randal Kolo Muani is not rated at all by Luis Enrique. The first question that gets to, that we can think about is Lucho says, every signing that's made to PSG, I've authorized it. So that means he authorized Paris Saint Germain to spend 90 million for Randal Kolo Muani. Absolutely embarrassing. Absolutely embarrassing. But now it's clear that Luis Enrique absolutely does not favor Randal Kolo Muani. I mean, Kolo is behind the pecking order, behind Dembele, behind Barcola, behind Kangili, behind Asensio, behind Gonçalo, behind maybe ahead of Mbaye, behind Due as well. So it's clear that Randal Kolo Muani does not have a future at this club, especially with Luis Enrique extending for 2 more years. It's better to get rid of Kolo Muani as soon as possible before his price drops even more. Luckily for us, Kolo Muani is still performing with the French national team and still has stocks from everything he did at Frankfurt and even the small stuff at PSG. I mean, I think he had 16 GA last season. It's still a decent number for the small amount of minutes that he got last season. But let's jump into the report. Just in, PSG is now open to selling Randal Kolo Muani and is preparing for his departure this January. However, the club doesn't want to sell him for cheap. His valuation is around 40 to 50 million. Randal Kolo Muani and PSG could part ways this January transfer window. PSG and Kolo Muani are exploring options where he could have regular game time. Many clubs, particularly from the Premier League, have expressed interest in Kolo Muani by requesting a loan with an option to buy. I mean, the main question mark for Randal Kolo Muani's future, in my opinion, has always been what club is going to pay him, plus he has really great wages. I mean, he's not going to go to Madrid. Bayern, no, he's not going to go to Bayern. He's not going to go to Barca. He has to be a club in the Premier League. The Serie A clubs don't have that kind of money. Neither do Ligue 1 clubs have. So he has to be a Premier League club. And I could understand Premier League clubs wanting a loan with an option to buy because he's not been good at Paris Saint Germain for a while. But I want to read out this big report here. Randal Kolo Muani's future at PSG is uncertain. The question of his potential departure will arise as early as in the January transfer window. Kolo Muani does not correspond to the ideal profile of Luis Enrique's number 9 or false 9 role. The Frenchman is necessarily affected by the tough period he's going through at the club as he is unable to break into the team for a spot due to an inefficient technical level and obviously difficulties in fitting into Enrique's game plan. Kolo Muani himself knows that it will be difficult for him to flourish in Enrique's system. For the moment, there is no question of pushing Kolo Muani out to sign another striker in January, but this will be up to Luis Enrique to decide. He alone will decide on this. However, PSG doesn't want to sell him for cheap if the decision to sell him is taken. So, let's explore the possibility. How likely is it that Randal Kolo Muani will be leaving Paris Saint Germain in January? I'm going to be honest, it's not that big. But if PSG are somewhat serious, this is something we should get rid of, because if we can offload Kolo Muani with his wage, even if it's a loan, we can get someone in. We can get someone in. If we take a look at our attack, we have Gonçalo Ramos, Marco Asensio, Bradley Barcola, Mbaye, Due, Dembele, Kangili. It's a lot of players, but I feel it's more quantity than actual quality. We have a lot of players, but how many of these are good enough to start for PSG? I would say, honestly, the only one is Ousmane Dembele. Bradley Barcola, I'm happy with him because, he's still young and very talented. And all the other players are just not good enough to start for PSG. So we definitely have to sign quality in attack. I don't want depth signings. I want quality. I want an attacker that's better than most of these players. In the center forward spot, we have obviously Gonçalo Ramos and Marco Asensio. And Dembele and Kangili have also been tried out there. But I see Asensio and Gonçalo strictly as center forwards because Dembele and Kangili can play other positions. So we have to sign some. And when it comes to center forward striker, it's Gyökeres, it's Osimhen, and it's Lukman. Lukman can obviously also play the false 9, but if we're looking for like a striker, a target man, but again, Lucho didn't want Osimhen, but maybe if Kolo leaves, maybe then Lucho is okay, because I know that Campos will push again for Osimhen, who has a release clause this January. Gyökeres would obviously be a dream signing. I remember I read the report that Luis Enrique favors Gyökeres and sees potential in him, and obviously with the season he's had, nobody can doubt that. And Lukman is a player that Paris Saint Germain can always return for. His contract is running out at Atalanta, and he can also play as a winger. And that's what I like about Lukman a lot, that he can fix 2 problems once. Because then we can still rotate between him, Gonçalo, and Asensio for the false 9 position, depending on how good he is there. But he can also play as a winger and compete with Barcola and with Ousmane Dembele. So for me, the best signing will be Kman, and I think it's the easiest one because of his contractual situation. Atalanta will actually listen to Paris Saint Germain if we come in January. Osimhen, I mean, it's a release clause. Napoli don't have that much say. It's mostly on Lucho because Osimhen would obviously love to come to Paris Saint Germain. So it's mostly about if Luis Enrique wants him or not. The final one, which is obviously Victor Gyökeres, the player that a lot of people dream about. PSG been interested in him since last summer. He will have a release clause. Ruben Amorim has left, and he was a major reason for Gyökeres staying at Sporting Lisbon last year. It will be depending if Gyökeres wants to leave in January or not, but I think seeing Amorim leave, he would be open to the idea. The only thing that has to happen is PSG has to put money. If we want to get Gyökeres, we have to put between 100 to 120 million. It's that simple. Do PSG want to spend that in January? I don't think so. We average, 30 million. In January, every transfer January. So I don't see Gyökeres happening, unfortunately. I would love it, but especially if we're only gonna get Kolo Muani for a loan, I don't know if PSG are willing to do that. So Kman is the one I have hopes for and is realistic, but obviously I would take anyone at this point. That's been it from my boy PSG. Let me know in the comments down below, if Kolo Muani gets sold, who do you guys want to sign for Paris Saint Germain as an attacker? That's been it from my boy PSG, and as usual, allez Paris.